Great. Our next speaker is Shimrit. She will come up and talk more about what she learned from product management from watching lots of TV. Sounds exciting. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Shimrit. I'm a Senior Director of Product Management at Google. I've been at Google for the past 8 years, where I have grown from being an individual contributor to a manager to a leader. I joined Google out of business school, and before that I was a software engineer, so quite a traditional route into PM. In these past 8 years, I've also had 2 children, and I'm now expecting a third. So it's definitely been a very eventful time for me in my life. One of the things that I think is really special and really unique to us as women, and that I hear a lot about from many of you, from many women that I coach and mentor, is that we really are often the minority in the room. Many people around us are different, they have different backgrounds. Sometimes it's just being a woman that's different. Sometimes we have to voice a very unpopular opinion, and that can be challenging. And we talk a lot about the seat at the table, which can feel very elusive. When I hear from a lot of you things like, I know what to do, but there's one person on the team who's really shooting down the plan, and I can't get it through. I took the plan all the way from start to finish line, and then the decision happened in a room full of executives, and I wasn't invited to the meeting. I did all the work, but it was not attributed to me at the end. And while I hear these concerns from both men and women, I actually hear it a lot more from women. And it's a topic that I care a lot about and I think a lot about, and I think it ultimately comes down to building credibility. How can we be effective at our jobs by building credibility? So this topic is near and dear to my heart. Another topic that's near and dear to my heart is, what am I going to watch on TV tonight? And I know it's a faux pas to admit that we even have a life. Like, do I not just go straight to work, back to work when I put the kids in bed? And the answer is no. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I like to kick back and watch something. And I actually think it's really relevant for my work. Not only do I think downtime is really important for us to be effective leaders, but I also think that I learn a lot from watching TV and from reading, because I get to see how characters develop over time. And there are many lessons that we can learn as product management from these characters that we look up to and admire. And the first of which is obviously Daenerys Targaryen. I'm assuming that 99% of you know her, but for the minor chance that you don't, she's one of the contenders for the throne in Game of Thrones. And she's very unique in many, many ways, dragons aside. She talks a lot about why she's doing what she's doing. So her right to the throne doesn't come from the fact that she's heir to the throne, but she talks a lot about ending slavery as something that is meaningful for her. She talks about leaving the world in a better place that she's found it. And it's through this charisma and through this talking about why she's doing what she's doing that she, which is actually a very unlikely contender, is able to build up a very meaningful following. So I really hope they don't kill her off the show. It's going to be devastating. And what I think is specifically relevant for us as women is when you struggle to talk about yourself, which I know many of us do, talk about, well, why is your product important? Why is changing this industry important? Why is it that you're doing what you're doing? And kind of channel the discomfort from you and what you did, which is natural, to be about this great product that you're leading. And hopefully through that, it's clear that we can make the linkages to the great work that you did. Another great character I learn a lot from is Walter White. And for those of you who don't know Walter, Walter starts off Breaking Bad as a 50-year-old man diagnosed with terminal cancer. He's a chemistry teacher, and he has no money to pay for his treatment. And so what Walter does is he ends up starting a crystal meth lab, producing and ultimately selling drugs. And while I'm by no means recommending that line of work, I do think there are things we can learn from Walter. Every episode, when Walter is faced with challenges, you see a recurring pattern. First, he hesitates. He almost plots his escape path from this route that he has taken. And then he decides to lean into it and do it a little bit better and really takes on this new character that he's emerging into as a very charismatic drug lord. And so what you learn from Walter is about, what we can learn from Walter as product managers is about grit and persistence. And it's not that we need to do things, it's not that we need to go from point A to completely point B, which is 50 miles away, but that by facing these challenges every day and deciding, okay, well, this is uncomfortable for me, but I'm not plotting my escape path. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what's challenging here, that we can take it and we can grow our skill set more. All right, who knows who this character is? How many people know this character? All right, good. I'm seeing some hands in the audience. This is great. This is the crazy log lady from Twin Peaks. I am only talking about Twin Peaks season 1 and 2 because season 3 is just way too crazy for me even. Twin Peaks was a 1990s show that's all about solving a murder mystery in the Pacific Northwest. And the crazy log lady that you see here is one of the minor characters in the show. But she's crucial to ultimately the solving of the murder mystery. And what she does is she consults her logs, and then she calls the police department and she tells them, my logs told me this and that. And this is a very effective tool for moving the plot forward. And I think that for us as product managers, I don't think that this was a nod to the tech industry, but I do think that we as product managers build up a lot of our credibility by how we own and treat our data. We all know, and I'm sure we all do this already, that being the person, the go-to person that knows your data best is really critical. Setting up your own dashboards, doing whatever it takes to really understand every nuance. But I think the point that sometimes gets lost, which I think is really key for credibility, is how deep are those insights that you're getting from the data? How much do those insights help you in solving whatever mystery it is that you're trying to in your product, in your industry? And so I really think that the best product managers that I see actually take a lot of time in using data not only to report progress, hey, everything's great, up and to the right, but also to show, okay, well, here is how my better users perform versus my worse users. Here's what this launch taught us. Here's how I was surprised by this data. I'm hearing a lot of chuckles. I'm sensing a lot of love in the room right now for this wonderful character. Leslie Knope is the best product manager in all of Pawnee, Indiana. Every episode, she has the best product idea for how to improve the Parks and Recreation Department, and she immediately steamrolls her way into implementing it, only to epically fail 5 minutes before the end of the episode. The way that she can backtrack from her epic failure is by working with and incorporating feedback from her fiercest and most hated enemies. And I think that what we can learn from Leslie Knope is a very effective listener when she decides to listen. And I often hear from women, how do I become a more confident speaker? What should I do to broadcast my message better? And I think that's important, and I think that there are lots of skills of building up your public speaking skills, but I think that leaders that I see actually do an amazing job listening better. And the people I see at the table are people who are the best listeners. They're really able to put their point of view aside and to empathize with a differing opinion and to try it on for size and to see if it'll stick better than theirs. And I think that this is a really important message for us as product managers in our shift from being just managers to leaders, is to be able to hold those ambiguous and conflicting opinions and to merge them into a better plan. The last show is from my childhood, Star Trek Next Generation. And Star Trek Next Generation is really interesting because what happens in every episode through time and space travel, through the challenges of time and space travel, is that Captain Picard, who's the leader, is not actually the only person advancing the show. He's providing a lot of guidance in a lot of solutions, but it's really through the interaction of his close team that we're able to really solve the crises that they're faced. And I think this notion of a brain trust is really important for our job as product managers. Many of us, as you saw in the demographics, of the attendees today, operate in bigger organizations. And if we spend all our time getting buy-in and socializing our ideas, we're going to get absolutely nothing done. And so the brain trust is a close group of confidants. For me, it's the engineering lead I work with, it's the UX lead I work with, sometimes marketing, sometimes business. It really depends on the project. And this group of people refines the idea, works on it together, and then helps get buy-in from all their people so that you can focus on continuing to get this job done, your job done, and be effective in your role. And so hopefully what you learned today is not only about talking about why you're doing what you're doing or how to be gritty and persistent with undertaking change, how to use insights from your logs and your data, how to listen better than you talk, and how to use your brain trust, but also that we are worthy and we are capable of transformation. Our products are, our industries are, and we are. So with that, thank you.